untouched even in war, and they deliberately hit dozens of hospitals, hundreds of schools, more than 130 ambulances carrying patients. They shredded the Charter of the United Nations from the rostrum of the United Nations and shamelessly challenged the whole world, who are people of conscience, from this very rostrum. They challenged them. My friends, leaked images from Israel's prisons, which it has turned into concentration camps, clearly show what kind of barbarianism we are facing. As a result of Israeli attacks, Gaza has become the world's largest cemetery for women and children. More than 17,000 children were targeted by Israeli bullets and bombs. Hind Recep was only 6 years old. He and his family were seeking safety when their car was hit by Israeli forces. He lost everything. He lost his mother, father, siblings, cousins. He lost all the hopes he had packed, and only he survived. He waited desperately for rescue for 12 days. Will you come to take me? I'm fearful. Was waiting for a helping hand to reach out to him for 12 days. Despite the level of our world has reached, despite the technology at our disposal, despite our organizations with huge budgets employing tens of thousands of personnel, as a human family of 8 billion inhabitants, we haven't yet managed to rescue a 6-year-old girl, which is actually like an injured sparrow trapped under the rubble that was shaking before our eyes. Hundreds of Gazan children died and are still dying because they cannot find a morsel of dry bread, a sip of water, and a bowl of soup. In Gaza, not only children are dying, but also the United Nations system. The values that the West claims to defend are dying. The truth is dying. The hopes of humanity to live in a more just world are dying one by one. I am asking you bluntly here, openly, frankly. I call out to you, oh human rights organizations, are those in Gaza and the West Bank not human beings? Do children in Palestine have no rights? Can't they play out on the streets in their homeland safely? And calling out to the international press organizations, aren't the journalists murdered by Israel on live TV your colleagues, whose offices were actually raided as well? I call out to United Nations Security Council. What are you waiting for to prevent the genocide in Gaza, to put a stop to this cruelty, this barbarianism? What are you waiting for to stop Netanyahu and his network, who is endangering the lives of the Palestinian people, which is a part of a mass murder network? And what are you still waiting for to stop them, putting to danger their own people and the entire region for political gain? I would like to call out to the countries supporting Israel in an unconditional manner. How long are you going to be able to carry the shame of witnessing this massacre? Dear friends, while children are dying in Gaza, in Ramallah, in Lebanon, while babies are dying in incubators, unfortunately, the international community has given a very bad test and failed in a big way. What's happening in Palestine, look, is a sign of a great moral collapse. I believe that the peoples of the world, the leaders of countries and international organizations should reflect on this painful picture, upon this painful landscape. And I would would like to state very clearly and loudly here. The Israeli government, disregarding basic human rights, trampling on international law at every opportunity, is practicing ethnic cleansing, a clear genocide against a nation, a people, and occupying their lands step by step. Palestinians, whose freedom, independence, and most basic rights have been usurped, are rightfully exercising their legitimate rights of resistance against this occupation and ethnic cleansing. The just resistance of the Palestinian people against the occupiers of their land is too noble. It's honorable and legitimate to be called illegitimate. It's heroic and it's noble.
Buradan bir kez daha canları pahasına vatanlarını savunan Filistinli kardeşlerimi
The only reason for Israel's aggression against the Palestinian people is the unconditional support of group of countries. And I would like to wave at my brothers and sisters at the legitimate resistance in Palestine. As I've said before, the support of a group of countries for Israel is the reason why this aggression is still going on. Countries that have a say over Israel are openly complicit in this massacre, with a policy of run for the hare and catch the hound. Those who are supposedly working for a ceasefire in front of the stage continue to send arms and ammunition to Israel so that it can continue its massacres in the background. This inconsistency and this is insincerity. Look, there's a paper that has been going around back and forth since May. Hamas has repeatedly declared its acceptance of the ceasefire offer, but the Israeli government has made it very clear that this is the party that doesn't want peace by constantly dragging its feet, making a settlement of the dispute much more difficult, almost impossible, constantly finding an excuse and sneakily killing its negotiating partner at a time when it was closest to a ceasefire. Israel's stalling and deception should not be given any more credit. In the absence of the implementation,
in
the absence of the implementation of UN Security Council Resolution number 2735, coercive measures against Israel should be put on the agenda. Israel's behavior has once again demonstrated that it is imperative for the international community to develop a protection mechanism for Palestinian civilians. 70 years ago, just as Hitler was stopped by an alliance of humanity, Netanyahu and his murder network must be stopped by an alliance of humanity. We believe that the General Assembly's authority to recommend the use of force, as in the 1950 Resolution on Unity for Peace, should be considered in this process during this time. An immediate and a permanent ceasefire must be established. Hostages and prisoners must be exchanged. And humanitarian aid must be delivered to Gaza unhindered and uninterrupted. It's very, very important that we extend a helping hand to the people of Gaza, especially before the winter season, when conditions on the ground will become even more challenging. Look, right now, 70% of the water supplies and 75% of the bakeries in Gaza have been destroyed. 95% of health centers were
veya
partially
tamamen
or completely
zarar
damaged.
gördü. 151 konut
150,000 houses were completely destroyed, 200,000 houses were partially destroyed, and 80,000 houses become uninhabitable.
hepatit
Infectious diseases such as polio and hepatitis are on the rise.
Gazze halkı
The people of Gaza receive only a quarter of the aid they urgently need.
ancak ulaşabiliyor.
That's what they
Türkiye
have
olarak
access to.
ilk günden
And as
itibaren
Turkey, we have been providing humanitarian aid
yardım
to our brothers and
faaliyetlerimizi
sisters
sürdürdük, sürdürüyoruz.
in Palestine, and we will keep on doing that.
Yardım miktarıyla Türkiye Gazze'ye en fazla yardım
With
gönderen
more than 60,000 tons of aid, Turkey is the country sending the largest amount of aid to Gaza.
ticari
Likewise,
işlemleri durdurarak
by halting commercial transactions with Israel, we have demonstrated our stance on this issue.
İsrail'in son günlerde
Now,
saldırılarını artırdığı Lübnan halkı
during the last couple of weeks,
yanındayız.
attacks by Israeli have been increased in Lebanon, and we are by the side of Lebanese people and the Lebanese government.
Şu gerçeği görebiliyoruz.
We can see this truth for what it is.
Türkiye'nin insanı katledenler
Those who murdered 41,000 people cannot rest until those who gave the orders, pulled the trigger, and dropped the bombs are held accountable for their crimes. We will not heave a sigh of relief. Our conscience will not go silent.
enkaza çevrilen şehirlerde oluşan
The bill for the billions of dollars of damage caused in the cities that have been destroyed, wrecked, and reduced to rubble must and will be compensated by the perpetrators.
İsrail'in işlediği suçların
We
cezası
support the case brought by the Republic of South Africa at the International Court of Justice to ensure that Israel's crimes do not go unpunished.
müdahillik başvurusunda
We will take every step necessary for justice to be served in the case for which we have applied as an
türlü adımı
intervener or as a party.
Nablus'ta barışçıl